And we welcome you back to Midwest Sport Hockey Queenie Park in Baldwin, Missouri, as we continue day number 2, a semifinal matchup number 2 here at Gateway to the Best, where we will see the number 2 and the number 3 seeded squads battle it out here to see who faces your mom in the championships. It's going to be the St. Louis Gatekeepers taking on the New York Stock Exchange. We welcome you back to live broadcast coverage and website coverage here at Derby News Network alongside Ecstatic. My name is Muckety Muck. It's if you are a Derby fan, Christmas has come early, as we are going to see another battle between New York and St. Louis, and always a great rivalry. They've faced each other twice this year, and the rubber match is on the line in this one.
Indeed. In fact, you could call this the rematch because these teams have played 3 times in the last year and a half. Of course, St. Louis giving New York their first defeat ever at Spring Roll a couple of years ago, and then taking away a somewhat controversial win against the Gatekeepers. New York did at Spring Roll this year, but St. Louis able to exact their revenge out in New York this year. New York may be looking for a little payback now on St. Louis's home turf. Absolutely, and we'll have a look at the lineups here shortly. First for the St. Louis Gatekeepers, as we said, they are the number 2 seed. Here's how their lineup looks like. They'll go out there with Zombie Jesus, Debaucherous Prime, High Pain Drifter, Nat King Kill, Batwing, Sweet Tooth, Percy Control, Jukebox Hero, Double XL, Bled Zeppelin, Wrecking Bill, Shango Fett, Magnum PIMP, and Neil Death Experience. So 3 new faces in the lineup here for St. Louis today. Wrecking Bill, Nat King Kill, and Batwing did not play yesterday, so we will give a close watch as to those latest acquisitions in this one. And you've got to look at the Stock Exchange here.
For the Stock Exchange out on the track today, you'll have Wolverine, Shoots and Splatters, Marlon Brando, Bane Anna on skates, Ace of Skates, Ladies Night, Starsky, Jeffery, Abe Drinkin, T-Stop Tornado, Jonathan R., Filthy McNasty, Ronnie Mako, and Harm's Way. Of course, Sammy Dangerfield, injured in yesterday's game, felt a pop in his right ankle. He's going to be sitting out in the crowd today, sort of watching his team play. Starsky in the game for the New York Stock Exchange, did not play yesterday.
And, of course, as we will get underway with action here in just a second, of course, semifinal action here. The winner of this one plays your mom in the championship bout. They were 188-87 victors in a wild one against Magic City. Very raucous crowd that we saw, but your mom, the top seed, retains the Duke and wins by 101 points. They will play the winner of this one tonight at 7 o'clock Central, and the one that suffers defeat in this semifinal matchup plays Magic City, and that bout will be taking place at 5 o'clock Central. Heading into this matchup, we will see the New York Stock Exchange, the number 3 seed. They will be in all black, and the St. Louis Gatekeepers will be in white. And it will be the co-captain, Magnum PIMP, starting things off with the star on his helmet here for the St. Louis Gatekeepers.
And for the New York Stock Exchange, number 241, Ladies Night, taking the line.
And Ladies Night got a lot of action yesterday in that big victory that they had in round number 1 against Portland. So.
That's true. He's usually their leadoff jammer. Usually you'll see him taking the line at the beginning of the game, just like you're seeing right here. Of course, Jonathan R., another in their rotation, on one knee at the pivot position. A very good pivot as well as a jammer.
Final check is coming up here, and of course we want to thank you for coming along for the ride here at Derby News Network. Want to talk to us, just go on Twitter, the hashtag AskMRDA, or you can go below in the chat room and talk to us directly. Or you can type to us directly, I guess it should say.
So the defending MRDA champions now taking on a team that's seated higher than them, looking hopefully to earn a chance to that title game later tonight at 7 o'clock to defend that title against your mom. But we'll see what St. Louis has to say about that, as the Gatekeepers have prepared not only a wonderful MRDA tournament, but I'm sure their team is prepared as well.
Yeah, it's been a good crowd here this weekend at Queenie Park. Of course, we got great representation from the local Derby community, but all of MRDA, even for squads that aren't participating this weekend here at the tournament, great representation from them as well. Of course, the arch rival Roller Girls from the WFTDA assisting with some of the volunteer capacities here. The NSOs, the skating officials doing a fantastic job as well, and we thank you, of course, for coming along for the ride here on Derby News Network. We're bringing you all the action live today with a full slate of bouts. This is bout number 2 of the day. We've got 3 more, 5th place, 3rd place, and the championships coming up later on this afternoon. So continuing on this fun trek that we've had here at Gateway to the Best, we look forward to this semifinal matchup. So, last minute check here by everybody, the non-skating officials conferring with the Zebras. We see the front wall of St. Louis, who are wearing the white with the gray trim. You see Wreckin' Bill out there on the blocking schema. Also out there, Nat King-Kill. As we said, both of those fellas were not in the lineup yesterday. Rounding it out, it's Jute Blocks Hero, who had a solid bout in their first-round matchup yesterday against Dallas. And, of course, Magnum PIMP will be doing the jamming here for St. Louis. To kick things off, the winner goes to the championships with number 2 St. Louis and number 3 New York Shock Exchange.
And we've had our first whistle. The jammers are released. Magnum PIMP knocked to the outside, has to recycle. Looks like Ace of Skates already sent to the box with one major here early on in this game. And out in front is Ladies Night with lead jammer status.
So Ladies Night looking to bust open the first points of this contest here. 10 seconds into this jam. We'll give you an update on the scoring and the clock as this one progresses. Magnum PIMP busting through as well. He's on his scoring pass as well. Here's Ladies Night. Now looking to notch up the first points here for New York, the number 3 seed, against St. Louis, the number 2 seed. So we'll see how the strategies play out. Both teams really tentative. They've seen each other at their best and worst as the season has progressed. As we said, they split a pair of bouts earlier this season. Looks like Ladies Night will get one here, and it breaks open the goose egg. New York comes out with the first points here. 55 seconds into this third, or I should say to the semifinal bout, a 1-0 lead here for the Shock Exchange.
Indeed, this one may be a game like that, seeing scoring coming in drips and drabs along the way. It's really probably going to come down, as the top tier games usually do, to who makes the most mistakes and who's able to stay out of the penalty box.
And already we got ourselves an official's timeout, so we stopped the clock with 28:40 left to go here in our first period of play in our semifinal matchup. Remember, the winner of this one plays your mom in the championship bout.
And we just want to remind you, at Rydell, skate design, performance, comfort, and fit are challenged on a daily basis. Stop by the booth here at the MRDA Championships and learn why your boots are the choice of top skaters everywhere.
So we said, great crowd here this weekend in St. Louis, the MRDA 2012 Championships. This is the second tournament being held under the MRDA banner. Of course, the defending champions, the New York Shock Exchange, the only original inaugural team of the MRDA that is here in the tournament this weekend. And as you and I have discussed earlier on Ecstatic, that we love the 8-team bracket that's set up here this weekend here at Gateway to the Best. Last year it was 6, this year it's 8, and I had no problem with that whatsoever.
I think it's absolutely fantastic that all the teams came here, and they're going to have to play the same number of games to earn the championship. Nobody has that easy of a road. The 1 versus 8 matchup is about the only advantage you really can expect to have moving forward in this tournament, and it's been really set up, and the matchups have proved to be good matchups all the way around.
Yeah, the top 4 seeds got victories yesterday, and of course we saw your mom getting the victory over the number 4 seed. That was the top seed, winning 188-87. And, of course, they advanced to the semifinal match, or I should say the championship matchup. Let's tell you how these two teams got here. Of course, St. Louis, the number 2 seed, getting a 359-72 victory over the Dallas Deception yesterday morning. And leading things off, I should say later on in the morning, we saw the New York Shock Exchange post up a 226-103 victory over Portland. So two bouts with large differentials, but very explosive offense found by both those squads in their first-round matchups.
Absolutely, and I think both teams, particularly St. Louis, having sat a couple of people for that first game, you're going to see a little bit different game out there today. New York, of course, also making a couple of different roster changes coming into this one, so it's going to be very interesting as soon as we can get on with our second jam.
That's right. Ignitress, her arms is getting tired out there as the NSO there making things happen. Of course, we want to thank the folks at Midwest Sport Hockey out here at Quinny Park. This is the home facility of the St. Louis Gatekeepers for, they just finished up their second local regular seasons, and it is also the home track for the arch-rival Roller Girls of the WFTDA. It's a county park that is operated by the County Parks Commission here of St. Louis County, and a sport court floor. Actually, it is operated and managed by a former hockey player of the St. Louis Blues, old Perry Turnbull, the Big Bruiser. He is a big supporter of roller derby, and this is a fantastic facility to host roller derby. And as we saw in our first match ever this morning with your mom in Magic City, this place can get really loud in a short amount of time when the action is really exciting.
Indeed. Magic City always travels well, but I think they also had a few converts in the crowd, possibly rooting against the number 1 seed, as often happens at tournaments everywhere.
Absolutely.
But there was a very vocal crowd, very intensely wrapped up in the game.
And that's great to see. St. Louis is a really heavy-duty, loving derby community. And we're going to check with our official in just a second to see what the timeout is all about, as Oger makes his way over here Of course, we want to thank the skating and non-skating officials for participating this weekend. They've done a fantastic job. We see Reaver Punk You from Hell out there. So just to update you on our score, and maybe that is what this timeout is all about, because we still have goose eggs on the board. Looked like that one finger was held up in the air at the end of that first jam for New York, but we still do not have any score posted on our scoreboard here. We're at the 28:41 minute mark, and that might be why we have this extended timeout.
Well, they did just update the score and put 2 points on the board for the New York Stock Exchange. If we're going to try to track every single point the way we've tracked these two, it's going to be a very long game, Muckety Muck.
I was going to say, it's a good thing we got a lunch break coming up after this one here. We might need all 4 hours allocated to it. To let you know what our broadcasting and website schedule is going to be for the remainder of the day, of course, this is game number 2. Then we will have ourselves a 2-hour break, and then we will resume our coverage here on Derby News Network at 3 o'clock with the 5th place bout. That features the Mass Maelstrom taking on Puget Sound. Then at 5 o'clock, we will have the 3rd place bout. And then in the championship bout, that will come at you at 7 o'clock. So the official timeout finally concludes, and we are ready to get back underway with action, with New York leading 2-0 after one jam here at Queenie Park.
That's right. Jonathan R., number 6, wearing the Jammer Star for New York. The first whistle blows. We see not a lot of movement from the Pack skaters.
It will be Debaucherous Prime at the line here for the St. Louis Gatekeepers. 2-0 our score as the jam clock gets underway. We're already 15 seconds deep into this one, and not a lot of action. Should be interesting to see the kind of strategies both these teams implement. St. Louis coming out with a high-power offense yesterday. New York kind of slowing things down in their first-round matchup, but eventually got a large differential against Portland. And now we see a little bit of activity going back to the starter's time. We're 35 seconds into this jam, and we still haven't sprung loose the jammers.
Each team had one skater in the penalty box. I think New York was just penalty killing right there, trying to get Ace of Skates back into their lineup. And they've done so. Ace of Skates has returned, and we see a little bit more action on the track now.
Absolutely, and there is one blocker in the box. He will be rejoining the action here shortly. Finally, jammers come, and here we go. Already halfway through this jam with Debaucherous Prime here for St. Louis, trying to make his way out into the front of the pack. A lot of hard work there for the New York Stock Exchange, and it's Jonathan R., and we're going to say his name a lot in this one here. He's your lead jammer for the Stock Exchange.
We absolutely will. The MRD Championships MVP from last year gets out in front for lead jammer status, now working on a scoring pass. Debaucherous Prime now finally out of the pack. And Jonathan R. pushed to the outside out of turn 4 on that second lap, calls the jam off. He's going to pick up, looks like 2 points on that scoring pass. So 2 points at a time. It looks like we're going to have a 4-0 score with almost 3 minutes gone by.
So back-to-back lead jams here by the defending champions. They are up 4-0, 27 minutes left here in our first period of play. At the line here, new fresh face here for the Gatekeepers. He did not play yesterday. It's going to be Batwing jamming here for the St. Louis Gatekeepers.
Batwing always so important for the St. Louis Gatekeepers offense.
He is focused. He is raring to go. He is trying to push his way up into the front of the pack. He is matched up against Ladies Knight, who's going to be a lead jammer here for New York.
That's right. The New York Pack able to make some room along the inside, made some room for Ladies Knight. He got in front for lead jammer status.
So now with the Ladies Night, his second lead jam of this early morning contest here, trying to get around Jukebox Hero, and does, and he will get out into the front of the pack, and he will notch up the full 5 here, and actually only 4, and in the process, 2 points was collected by the Gatekeepers. So with 26:10 left to go here in our first period of play, New York stretches the lead, but the Gatekeepers break open the goose egg. It's 8-2 New York. And actually, we'll add one more on there, so we'll now call the score 8-3.
That's right. The Gatekeepers get on the board. So few points scored so far in this one.
Kind of surprising.
Almost 5 minutes in, just a little over 4, to have only 11 points scored so far in total is pretty surprising out of these two teams, which are usually offensive machines.
Yeah, we're used to about 300 points combined out of both these squads here. It's going to be Shango Fett here for St. Louis jamming. He'll be matched up. Out there, it's going to be Ronnie Mako for New York. But in the front of the pack, first lead jam for St. Louis. It's coming to Shango Fett.
That's right. Shango Fett able to find some room on the outside in turn 3, or actually turn 4 to come out of the pack. Now circling around for a scoring pass. Ronnie Mako still held up in the front of the pack by double XL.
5 points the deficit for St. Louis. 30 seconds into this jam. 25-15 here in the first period of play. Shango Fett on a scoring pass. Look at the bust on through. Not going to be easy to do. Banco still on his initial pass. Shango Fett, nice work to the outside around turn number 1 all the way through, and St. Louis is going to make this one interesting. A tied score, 8-8, 25 minutes left, and a minute 15 left in this jam.
That's right, Ronnie Mako still tied up in the middle of the pack. St. Louis doing a fantastic job putting a wall right in front of him. The New York blockers staying at the rear of the pack to try to take care of the jammer as he comes around. Starsky, Filthy McNasty, and Wolverine really holding Shango Fett back, but he finds some room around the outside and is back in front. Almost completes the scoring pass, but held back by Filthy McNasty.
50 seconds left in this jam. Our score is tied and not anymore as Shango Fett gets through for 5 more, extends the lead 13-8, and he'll call off the jam, and the fans from St. Louis, I'm sorry, he didn't call off the jam. I misheard the whistles there. It's very, very loud here in St. Louis at Queedy Park. Now, with only 30 seconds left in this jam, St. Louis up by 5. Third scoring pass. Shango Fett takes a tumble, and now he will officially call this one off. Meanwhile, a New York Stock Exchange skater goes crashing into the end boards, and we're going to have ourselves a timeout for an injury.
That's Wolverine. Ace of Skates had pushed a St. Louis skater out. Shango Fett right there near that wall, and then Wolverine took a hit that slid him into the boards of the hockey arena here. He is back up and on his skates and heading off to the bench. So just a little shaken up right there. It looks like Wolverine's going to be okay.
23:50 left to go after that 15-point jam by Shango Fett, a lead change, and then some. It's now a double-digit lead for St. Louis, 18-8. Want to say hi to one of the fine sponsors here. That's KDHX Radio, 88.1 on your FM dial. You can hear real DJs playing music you won't hear anywhere else, and you can stream it all online at kdhx.org. That's 88.1 KDHX, independent music plays here. A great radio station, as a matter of fact.
I was listening to it last night and this morning. Last night, some great reggae. This morning, some great Texarkana music. It was awesome.
They have a little bit of everything, no matter what your preferred genre is, whether it's bluegrass, whether it's rap, whether it's pop, whether it's old punk rock. You'll find it right there at KDHX. So to update you on our score right now at officials timeout, 23:53 left to go in our first period of play. Keep in mind this is the semifinal matchup, the other semifinal matchup here at Gateway to the Best, and the winner of this one will play your mom in the championship bout. That one's going to be a Jim Dandy. So if you're just now joining us, a quick sprint out of the gates here for St. Louis. I should say, actually, it was a quick sprint out of the gates here for New York Stock Exchange as they notched up an 8-3 early advantage, and then via the 15-point jam by Shango Fett of St. Louis. St. Louis currently with the 18-8 lead. Out in front of the pack, it's going to be Magnum PIMP for St. Louis as your lead jammer.
Jonathan R. tied up behind a couple of the pack skaters there for St. Louis. Does make it out of the pack. He's about a half track, a quarter lap now behind the St. Louis jammer.
Magnum skates around, calls it off. He'll get 3, a 3-0 run there for St. Louis. They've notched up 18 uncontested, and you can see Magnum PIMP getting this raucous crowd in turn number 3 pumped up, and they now lead 21-8 with 23:15 left in the first.
It was a great call off by Magnum PIMP, spinning out of bounds, called it off just in time to keep Jonathan R. from putting any points on the board for New York. Great call off by Magnum.
We'll see how the Stock Exchange can answer back. They are down by a baker's dozen, 23 minutes flat left here in the first period of play. And jamming here for St. Louis, and easily getting the lead there was Debaucherous Prime for St. Louis, matched up against Ace of Skates here by the New York Stock Exchange, and he throws down the panties, so this one will become interesting. We can tell the folks at home you don't want to do it on the house call, but a little bit of strategy trying to be implemented. Meanwhile, it's Debaucherous Prime with another 5. The panty lays in turn number 2, and the Stock Exchange bench is not happy at all.
No, they don't seem to know where it is. Ladies' night skating back around. He's got to pass it up. 5 more points for Debaucherous Prime.
So in turn number 2 lays the star, the black panty here of New York Stock Exchange, but Debaucherous Prime racking up another 4 here for St. Louis with 1:05 left to go here in this jam. Another 5 here by Demetrius Prime, as we were getting a little bit of activity with that fallen star there by the New York Stock Exchange. That has not been touched in a minute's worth of jam time. 22:50, I should say, 22 minutes left here in the first half of play and 50 seconds left in the jam.
And the blockers portion of the box filled up for the New York Stock Exchange. There's nowhere else to go because they don't have a jammer they can send to the other seat in the box.
This has been a rough jam for the Stock Exchange. Things falling apart as Demetrius Prime attempting the apex jump. He'll have to go to the back of the pack, but St. Louis now exploding out to a 45-8 lead. 30 seconds left in the jam, and Demetrius Prime here will continue on. More penalties being assessed here to the Stock Exchange.
Well, and Wolverine just went to the box, sat down. There didn't seem to be a spot open. T-Stop Tornado also seemingly sent to the box. There was nowhere for him to go. So they both have to take back to the track. Ladies Night came back into the track and put the A star back on, but there's still a star on the floor.
This is going to be an interesting call here. I got a feeling we might get a timeout, but in the process, Demetrius